Hello and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America. My guest today is Marlon Taylor-Wiles, a contemporary ballet dancer, experiential designer, creative strategist, and founder and creative director of Flying Under the Radar. And Marlon, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. But thank you. I think, you're the GOAT, what we call the GOAT.
Well,
so just
thank you. No, from what I've seen of
thanks
your
for having me. Appreciate
tapes
it.
and things, so you may be the GOAT, but
just
that
happy
is
to be here.
meaning the greatest of all time.
That's right. That's right.
So future, Flying Under the Radar. I mean, tell us all about that, because this is after dancing and doing fashion and doing all of these things, you've consolidated them into this concept.
Right. So it's a creative agency that specializes in branded entertainment, fashion show direction, creative direction, content creation, concept creation of ideas, a sort of event production. So it's like you said, it's a lot of my past talents kind of all moved into like one unit, and now I can provide these opportunities and these services to clients or to my friends, so.
Well, it sounds fantastic, because what it seems like is that that's where we are now. We really need somebody to bring all of the things that we do and put them in a package that others will want to see.
Right. So yeah, that's what we are, and that's what we're doing, and we pride ourselves, or I pride myself on executing at a high level, as that's been my background with my teachers. My mentors have always said, if you're going to do something, you do it at the highest level you can. So here we are.
Here we are indeed. Now, your first life as a dancer, how did you find that as a passion? How old were you, and when did you start dancing?
I give many thanks to my parents and my aunts, because we had a very close-knit family, and we had a lot of birthday parties, and everybody would dance a lot. My dad's Jamaican, so a lot of dancing comes from that culture as well. And I was in music class in the 5th grade, and I got a flyer. My music teacher gave me a flyer to audition to be an extra in the Nutcracker. I had no clue what the Nutcracker was. I thought the flyer was like an Art Deco style Nutcracker drawing that I was really enamored by. I was like, oh my God, this drawing's so cool. Like, what is this? And she's like, oh, it's Art Deco. It's like this. And she's like, it's the Nutcracker. It's a ballet. It's theater. And I was already doing theater in school, but I had never seen this kind of work. So
this is 5th grade now.
5th grade.
You're introduced to the Nutcracker.
Introduced to Nutcracker. I go to this audition, and I get cast to be a party child in the opening scene. And I just loved it. I loved the acting. I loved what we consider now world building. And I was just totally into it, that I could become someone else, in this. I love the theater. I love the lights, the makeup, the people, the audience, like the older dancers. I was just like, oh my God. And then after that show, the dance company that produced and directed that show said, you have a natural talent for this. You have rhythm, you have coordination, your body proportion is right for this. Would you like to come study on a full scholarship at the school, at Margot Marshall School of Ballet? And my parents was like, they talked about it, said, you want to do this? It's a commitment. And I said, let's go. And I love my parents. My parents, sacrifice, driving me to ballet school every day. And
every day?
Every day. I went to ballet school every day. And
so that's when you're in the big leagues, when you have to rehearse every single day.
Every day.
And that you stayed in school, though, and did that after school.
Did that after school. And when I got to middle school, there was a challenge, because obviously, I started playing basketball when I was in middle school. Very athletic person.
Oh, wait a minute. Basketball, ballet. Basketball,
They
ballet.
they lend themselves together.
They do?
Absolutely. Just like, people don't understand. I wish more athletes took dance class, because it's like, it improves your jump. It improves your flexibility. It improves your hand-eye coordination. It improves just like your level of confidence of how to be aware with your body. And when I was in middle school, I think my middle school friends didn't understand that. And so I did face the challenges of people calling me out of my name sometimes, and, just dealing with that kind of stuff. But it improved my basketball playing, and I've been able to make a solid career, out of my start of dance.
Right. So you had to make the choice. Am I going to be drafted by a famous basketball team, or am I going to do,
There were,
or am I going to dance my way to
there was
stardom?
one of the dancers, her father was a coach, I believe at U of H, and he would see me dance, and he would see me dance, and one day comes up to me, it's like, you know, would you ever consider playing basketball at the university? And my dance teacher was like, absolutely not. Don't even put that in his head. This guy's a dancer, and this is what he's gonna do, and that's it. No basketball, purely the arts.
Well,
I'm all about the arts.
So then your life was shaped. We have a clip of you dancing at the Whitney, actually,
yeah.
with Jemiah Williams.
Yeah.
So why don't we take a look at that, and then
Okay.
we'll talk about how that was created and
Okay.
happened afterwards. Wow, very nice, very
Thanks.
nice. So now this is at the Whitney Museum of Art, and I saw Carrie Mae Weems' name listed there. And
She had a piece of that, you know, so the overall exhibit was by Jason Moran called An Afternoon at Slugs, I believe.
Right.
And Carrie Mae Weems had a piece that was playing also in that same exhibit. But yeah.
right. So how did that? You say was he a classmate of yours?
Yes,
or-
Jemiah. Jemiah, not only a classmate of mine, but someone that I am truly inspired by through the artistic work, through the spiritual work, through just being an amazing human. So I'm always inspired by him, but he had the opportunity to play for this exhibit and brought me on as, you know, we do a lot of work together outside of just dance work, but yeah, Jemiah brought me on, kind of told me the concept, and for this, he just plays. It's just he's just guided by the ancestors and just plays, and I just danced. So that was not rehearsed. That was not.
So you're guided by the
I am.
ancestors as
I am.
well,
I
right?
am.
So you just created the
Just-
movement for it.
You know, I'm moved by what he plays, and my body just kind of goes with whatever he is kind of instructing me in a sense, or we're instructing each other for that. But yeah, that was amazing. That was.
Yeah, but other amazing things that you've done. You know, I think you've danced with Beyoncé and with Madonna as well. So I mean, this is like, you know, the real big time. Tell us about Beyoncé first. Start.
Beyoncé, again, another amazing artist that I'm truly inspired by. Also from Houston. Jemiah's from Houston. Beyonce's from Houston. I'm from Houston. So there's that whole Houston.
The whole Houston crowd.
Houston, that there's a level of talent that comes out of Houston that is unmatched. Somehow we all end up in New York, but you know, Houston is there. But yeah, I had an opportunity to work with Beyoncé on a photo shoot, and then on a commercial for her clothing brand, and then a music video. But you know, someone who is really all about the art, all about the creativity, and just, you know, just constantly being inspired by her. So that was a major opportunity, you know, and she's a very nice person. She comes on set, she talks to everyone. That's how everyone's doing.
I love what she's doing in Houston too. You know, she just had a housing complex named after her for her contributions to the citizens of, you know, of Houston. But now you had an opportunity to do the Super Bowl with her, and what? Turned it down?
Well, I didn't turn it down. I didn't turn it down. But I had another opportunity that I had already signed up for.
What do you say to Beyoncé? You say, sorry, Super Bowl.
You know, I talked to the choreographer and I said, unfortunately, no. You know what what I always do is I call my mom. I call my mom all the time. I call
That's
my
a good
mom.
thing.
Always.
Good thing.
Always.
Yeah.
Anytime. I said, Ma, I got this opportunity. And she goes, okay, what's up? I said, I got I've been asked to do the Super Bowl with Beyonce. She goes, but aren't you doing Evian? And I said, I know, but it's at the exact same time. Like, what do I do? And she goes, you know how we do it. You stick to your word. Where'd you make the commitment to? How's the opportunity? What are we looking like here? And I explained to her, and she goes, look, you move from a place of compassion and empathy, and more opportunity will come. you can't turn down this opportunity after you already said yeah, because then you're going to have other people that are not going to be happy with you, considering you already said yes.
See that people always listen to your mother.
Always.
Right. So this is a commercial that you had committed to, that then turned into like what, 100 million views of what?
It went viral. It went viral, and you know, my friends like to joke that like I'm the most famous unfamous person, because so many people have seen this, and
right.
you know, it's constantly getting re-picked up, and it's currently playing right now in Europe, and so yeah, it plays a lot. It went viral. I did not do the Super Bowl, and that's okay. And so yeah, Evian has been a gift.
I think we should take a look at it. I actually love this spot, and you're going to tell us how they did this afterwards. Let's take a look at the video.
I'm the lyrical gangster. Big up the crew in the area. Still love you like that. No, we don't die. Yes, we multiply. Anyone press me, the fire they sing. Act like you know we go. I know what both don't know. Touch them up and go. Oh, here come the upstairs. I'm the lyrical gangster. Pick up the crew in the area. Still love you like that. Here come the upstairs. I'm the lyrical gangster. Excuse me, Mr. Officer.
So you were one of the Evian babies, I mean, which is just so fabulous, you know. I mean, so 100 million views. And now you were describing, though, that you were the adult and you were also the baby. They created you. Tell us how they did that.
Yeah, so first off, that commercial was shot in Argentina. So
Argentina,
we got to fly to Argentina, first class. First class to Argentina, which was like, you know, we're flying to Argentina. There's only 8 of us in the commercial, 7 of us in the commercial. So we had this entire first class area for this entire trip just to ourselves, and we're just like
sweet.
Oh man, it was amazing. It was amazing. I hope to fly first class all the time, but like.
Right. Well, we always do, right? You know, whenever I pass by the first class section, I'm like, oh.
I know. I mean, it was like laying down flat, like getting like lavender towels.
So that was quite a treat.
Yeah, that was amazing because, you know, we're the adult actor, dancer, and also the baby. So we shoot the adult scene first, and then at the time, they were also auditioning for child or baby actors that kind of had a similar face structure or vibe to each actor. And then we get into a very giant green studio, and we put on these kind of like baby suits. And we do the whole commercial multiple times. And they kind of do like a CGI to put the baby face onto our body and then shrink us down to that. So that's what's us.
And this was shot how long ago? And that was before, because what it bring,
I believe.
Right, what it brings to mind is AI, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole strike and the deal with the actors in terms
now that's way easier to do now than it was, you know, whenever we shot that.
Exactly.
Cost effective as well, you know, having to do all of what we did. But yeah, AI is here.
AI is here, right? So that would be, you know, you definitely need the rights to your baby self, you know, and your
totally. Do.
But congratulations for that success, and then that just opened up a whole world for you.
Yeah, just, you know, thankful to dance.
So not only dance, but also fashion in terms of Ralph Lauren, which is, I mean, you're now, you know, going through that whole top level of. Tell us about your experience with Ralph Lauren.
Funny story, I was in college, I needed a job, I started working at Victoria's Secret. I had convinced the manager at the time to let me work in front of the store because I usually put all the men in the back in the stock room, and I said, I'm not working in the stock room, I need to be in the front, I want to talk to people, I'm like, I can get people in the store. So one day they said, okay, we have this little deal, you know, convince people to come in. They spend $50. You get a tote bag and some fragrances, some other accessories. So a gentleman's walking by. I see him, and I say he's with a nice woman, and I say, "Yo, you come in, you get this bag, you spend $50, you get all this stuff for your beautiful lady." Da da da. And he says, "Hey, I work for Ralph Lauren. If you quit this job, I'll have you on a plane the next day to meet Ralph." And we're starting this new brand called Rugby. This was in 2004. And he said, "You'll meet Ralph Lauren tomorrow." And I go to my manager at Victoria's Secret, and I said, "I'm quitting. I met someone. He says he's going to fly me to New York tomorrow to meet Ralph Lauren." And she goes, "Yeah, right."
Yeah, right,
I said, "Yeah, right." And I said, I just took, I said, "We'll see what happens." So I quit on the spot. And then the next day, I meet this gentleman, Matt Mole, who is a great colleague of mine, great friend of mine. We met with 7 other kids who were all in the local universities. A couple kids went to Harvard, Northeastern, Tufts, Emerson Conservatory. And we were on a plane. We get to New York. We meet Ralph Lauren. He says, "You're the first 7 employees of my new brand called Rugby." And it was like being an influencer before there was influencers per se. So
right.
We started this brand in Boston called Rugby, and we would go out, go to tailgatings at Harvard, introduce the brand to people, and then we start flying
Wait a minute.
around.
So you're introducing at tailgate parties. You're wearing the rugby
gear,
rugby clothes, and you're saying to the other kids and
come to the store.
The families who are there come to Ralph Lauren and
Yep.
buy this outfit.
And it was kind of like a shift in the culture, because not many people were doing things like that. Having kids a very cool, diverse, eclectic group of kids going out fully decked out in these new garments and introducing the brand on the spot to people. There was I guess we had just gotten Facebook, so there was no Instagram. There was no social media things. You had to get out. There was no TikTok. There was none of that.
None
right?
of that. Huh?
So you had to be on the ground and getting out, and seeing a group of cool kids. Everyone was like, "Who are they? What are y'all doing? What is all this? And how can I be a part of it?" And it was a great time.
And that led to you then.
Well, I think what that did was that led to me, through Ralph Lauren, really understanding the idea of experiences and the idea of world building. You go into a Ralph Lauren store, you feel like you're a part of this world, of his lifestyle.
I know, the far west, the West.
You feel like you're part of the West, or you're in Jamaica, or you're you're part of this aristocratic lifestyle, or you're wearing riding boots, you're wearing herringbone, you're wearing all these things. But it's this idea of how to create a world that people can be a part of. And I think that was like my first entry level, outside of dance, because dance, that happens when you're in the theater, but being in a store, of creating a lifestyle and being like, oh, this is how you can really introduce someone to your world, or world that you just kind of create. And I think that's what was my first entry point to world building and into fashion, and just watching how he directed the models sometimes, or watching how they just told us how to act or to be, and how to wear the clothing.
And then you started doing that.
And then I started to direct.
You took over from Ralph,
and,
right?
I definitely influenced by Ralph and the whole Ralph Lauren family. So always very grateful for that opportunity in my life. But then that kind of led to doing more movement direction for fashion shoots.
And what does that mean, movement direction?
Movement direction is like, you'll have a director sometimes. Sometimes the director is also the movement director. Sometimes the photographer can be the movement director. But a lot of times you have just a person whose job it is on set to give models movement direction. And that is, to kind of make them relax, to kind of make them hit a certain position or do a certain thing. Not all the time the model per se is comfortable all the time on set, or trying to, how do you kind of give someone some information that they can then kind of translate through their body and not just through words. So you can say, hey, move like you're in Honey, right? If you're in Honey, the movement is very more resistant.
Right.
So there needs to be someone on set who can kind of translate that for the model to do so. So yeah, that led to me being on sets with a lot of different models, different magazines, and then that eventually led to me to direct fashion shows. And now I direct and produce fashion shows as well.
Well,
all of that.
well, and this whole idea of that you got from, I guess, going to the tailgating parties. It's the full experience that you're trying to create for fashion. Tell us about what was your favorite fashion thing that you did, the most fun?
ooh.
Do you have, without insulting your other clients? But
They're all so different.
yeah.
They're all so different, but let's see. There's been a lot of good ones. There was a brand, there still is a brand called Death to Tennis, and their whole idea was this idea about peacocking. There's a big fashion exhibition or trade show called Pitti Uomo, and there's this idea where a lot of vendors come, a lot of different fashion brands. They come to show their brands to different buyers, potential investors, wholesale accounts, different stores, different influencers or whatnot. But outside of the space are what we call the peacocks, and these are gentlemen and women who get fully dressed up, the best garments, fine Italian fabrics, and they just hang out outside. And so they're just kind of peacocking, right? They're just showing off these fine garments. So this brand, Death to Tennis, they wanted to kind of pick up on this idea of peacocking. And so we did this amazing build out where we had like a maybe 6x6, but it's like a cube with all these mirrors, and you had the model just kind of like looking at themselves and kind of like checking themselves out. And you had a couple models that were on their phones that were just looking at themselves on their phones. And you had one guy who had a Polaroid camera, and he's taking photos of himself and then he's giving them out to
this is great.
Giving them out to the audience.
Now
so that,
we know the brains behind all of those things we see like that. It's Marlon who's the brains behind.
I'm just one of them. I'm
one of the
one
of the creators. Tell us about Affirmation Station. What's that?
So Affirmation Station, that is an experiential, meditative art installation that I created. Again, so grateful for my parents that my parents have given me the tools to always be confident in myself. My mom and my dad have always said, you wake up in the morning, you give thanks, you say, I love myself, I'm going to have a productive day, and you get it moving. So I had this I do this a lot, these affirmations, just on my own. And I had this idea, it was like right before COVID, to start to pitch to different art institutions of creating this space where you can walk into a space and hear these affirmations and be guided by a narrator to hear these affirmations and repeat to yourself these affirmations. So myself and Jemiah, who I did the Whitney with, Jemiah created the soundscape to the exhibition. His wife is a narrator, and his daughter plays some instruments on it. So a full family affair of doing this. And so Affirmation Station is you walk into a lit box per se, and the lighting is kind of designed to imitate the chakras of the body.
Right.
And you sit and you're encouraged by the narrator to repeat these affirmations and listen to this soundscape that Jemiah kind of takes us on. And so it's very soothing, it's very relaxing, and the idea is to end self-doubt, end anxiety that most people have. And I think it's important to do these type of affirmations, especially for children, because all the time you go outside, you're bombarded constantly with advertisements, negative things, negative
social
stereotypes,
media.
Social media,
right?
Especially with social media, the idea of
right.
comparison, like people, even with my nieces and my nephews, they get into this idea of trying to compare themselves to what they see on social media, and not understanding that that person has had their own journey, that person has had their ups and downs, so you don't know exactly what's going on in that person's life to compare themselves to, but you have to constantly just repeat to yourself, because I really believe in the power of thought, the power of the tongue, the power of the things that you speak will come into existence.
Right.
So if you're talking negative to yourself, negative things.
I don't know. I need an affirmation station. I think every
we
family
all
should
need an
have
affirmation
one.
station.
Well, how do you get one? Where are they? Can we order them from you?
That'd be great, right? The first affirmation station was with Arts Brookfield at Brookfield Place. So thank you to Arts Brookfield team. And then the next one we did at a place called Lightbox over on 38th and 8th, or 37th and 8th, I believe. Okay. Sorry, Lightbox, but that's, Lightbox is a great.
Yeah, so
great
get busy producing them.
I know, the idea is hopefully to get them in schools.
Right, that would be fabulous.
As like a little first 15 minutes of the day, they go into a little spot to get these affirmations, and they.
Right, so talk about Hunter a little bit. You're part of the CUNY family.
Yeah.
And I love this Tech and Tech.
Tech and Tech.
Right.
So Tech and Tech is dance technique and technology. And there was a collaboration with me and the director of the grad program, Kathleen Isaac. And we met at a dance concert. We had a great discussion about the arts and technology. And, Tech and Tech is how kids now are on TikTok They're on social media. They're doing dance things on social media. You know, you have AI, you have computer mapping, you have all of the different technologies that lends itself to dance. And it's important, you know, you think about technology and how can you use it for performance, but, you know, kids now are doing full dance choreography on TikTok. So that means you're a choreographer.
Right.
But they don't know that.
They don't know that they are.
They're editing their videos. That means you're an editor. They're making music. That means you're a music producer. You know, so I was teaching the grad students at the time, amongst a lot of other things, but that in particular, I brought in a good friend of mine's daughter who was 9 at the time, and she taught the class on how to use TikTok. And so she's teaching the grad students.
It takes a 9-year-old, right?
Well, because she knows it. She knows it in and out.
Marlon, you're going to have to come back. We're running out of time,
Okay.
but that sounds fabulous. And I want to know what you're doing for New Year's Eve.
Oh, so I work
coming.
with One Time Square, who owned Jamestown, who owned the building where the ball drops, and I help produce an event for them, for their clients, investors. You know, so we do kind of like cool experience-based ideas.
So you're doing the Times Square.
Not the whole thing, but just a portion of it that makes up the bigger part of that. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is fantastic. You know, when I was a reporter, I once had to climb to the top, but that was in the old days where there was a ladder on the side of the building that you went up for the ball to drop. So pretty scary.
Pretty special, yeah.
Yeah,
special.
you know, I told my news director, no, I can't go up there. He said, get up there right now or else, you know. So that's New Year's Eve. So we will know when we are watching on television or, Lord help us, actually in Times Square, that Marlon had something to do with that. Thank you for coming to Black America. You're doing
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
So many wonderful things.
Thank you so much.
We'll be looking out and get production on those affirmation boxes right away.
Yes, ma'am.
Every household needs one.
Got you.
Okay.
Got you.
My thanks to Marlon Taylor-Wiles, creative strategist, founder, and creative director of Flying Under the Radar, or FUTR. Be sure to look for him in front of the camera and behind the scenes. The Idea Machine. And that is it for us at this time. Thank you for joining us, too. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America, and we will see you the next time.